Oh, give thanks unto the Lord, for he is good. His mercies are everlasting, and his truth endureth unto all generations. And listen, it's another Wednesday, and this is on the beautiful day in the village of Lafayette. Wow, with B&B. Word on Wednesday with Bishop Carl E. Brinkley Jr. and his sidekick, John GODBOLT. It's so good to be with you as we push and press our way on. We used to call it Hump Day, Wednesday, in the middle of the week, work week. But if you're not working, it's just another good day to be alive and press on and do the right thing. And to all of you who are following us on social media, Facebook, YouTube, thank you for joining us. And we definitely want you to put your comments in, like, share, and all those different things that we're going to be doing. Before I get into the word, a thought of the day, I want to say happy anniversary to my children and my pastors, Dr. Terrence. We got to get together. Dr. Terrence McAllister and Jocelyn McAllister as they celebrate 31 years of marriage today. Isn't that awesome? 31. So keep it up, young folk. We love and appreciate you so much. Your mom and I appreciate you being who you are. And the children, grandchildren you've given us. Like we always say, if I had the grandchildren first, I'd probably been a better parent. But it's been a great time. I got a great guest we're going to be sharing and stretching his mind and using him, telling about us in just a little bit. But before I get into him, Bishop, anything we need to talk about, you want to share with us? Are we good to go? All right, good. Thought for the day. You were sent to produce, not perish. I'm going to bring that from Genesis chapter 50, verse 20, the statement that Joseph made to his brothers. He said, but as for you, you thought evil against me, but God meant it unto good, to bring to pass, as it is this day, to save much people alive. Now, if you go back to verse 14, you'll see that Joseph and his brothers had returned to Egypt from burying his father. And after the burial, we saw some things that happened. I want to bring up 3 points today quickly. I say quickly, but we got time. And point number 1, your deliverance will uncover dirt in other people's past. Notice that when Joseph had buried his father, when his brother came back, the burying, the covering up of somebody else uncovered dirt in their thought life. See, everybody agreed to bury the father, but everybody didn't come back with the same agenda. That's what we noticed, that after they buried him, which means behind or time or deed, after that time or after that deed, we start to see there. This is where God is going to start glorifying your planting. You were not buried, you were planted. That's the first thing you have to keep in mind when you go through a difficult place, a different place, a place you never imagined that God was doing and working in your life. Second point is your deliverance will reveal prior conversations. Just because you're moving forward doesn't mean that people in your past don't have past conversation about how things are going to be revealed. So we see in verse 15 that Joseph's brothers, and that word saw is it's a little short word, but it has a lot of meanings behind it. In Hebrew, it means they advise themselves. When someone sees, they advise themselves. That's the same thing that we see with Adam female in the garden. When she saw that the tree was good for food, she approved it herself. She had an experience with that, and she gazed upon it. She considered it. She inspected. Then Joseph's brother did the same thing. His brothers did the same thing. They saw that maybe since dad's not here anymore, maybe there's something's going to happen. So they had this conversation with their brother. Now, you remember now, you said that you're going to take care of us. Now, dad is gone. Has anything changed? Well, this is what we found out. They saw, but God encouraged Joseph not to let their past conversation become his future. That's what you have to keep in mind. When old things come up, you cannot let the past conversation affect you. You were not sent to be buried. You were sent to be planted. Third point, your deliverance will glorify God. In verse 21, we see here, he told them, I am sent to nourish you and to speak kindly to you. And that word nourish means to measure up, to guide you, to help you comprehend, to make provisions, to sustain you. God used your situation to move you forward as he did with Joseph so that you could speak kindly to others. You shouldn't have an ill will about what happened in your life. There's some good that comes out of it. But just like Joseph, this word here, we find out that your deliverance is an opportunity to serve others. The deliverance here is a kind of fruit. It's not an opportunity to say, see, I told you what you did to me. God's going to make me better. No, it's an opportunity for you to be fruitful and multiply. So anytime we are delivered, we are producing fruit. So what is it? God is saying, I'm counting on you to speak well and speak kindly to others when I bring you through. What they meant for evil, God is now using it for good. Let's pray. Father, we thank you for the opportunity that you brought us into, that even these new places that we're seeing now with our government, with shifting and changing, we are not sent to perish. We're sent to produce. We know it may look like it's the enemy is winning, but you've already set a plan. You're in charge. Whether it's a good or a proper president, you're in charge, whether it's a good governor or not. We thank you for being in charge, and we're going to do what we're called to do, to produce in the time when the enemy think we're perishing. We give you praise for it in Jesus' name, and the people of God said, amen. All right, I'm excited. I got one of my spiritual sons here. I appreciate this young man. We've gone through, we butt heads together, we talked, we had some great conversations throughout the years. Corinne Keys is with us today, and I got to say hello and welcome to Wow Word on Wednesday.
Listen, Pastor, I'm glad to be here. Anytime we get the fellowship, on air, off air, over the phone, text messages, it is a joy. So, and Bishop Brinkley, always glad to see you.
He's one of my partners here as well. He got me started on this Wednesday thing. I had planned to just do my Friday and take off and enjoy it. But once we got to rolling, it's like, hey, I like that B&B combination. So Bishop Brinkley is with us. Look, Corinne, let's talk about how your past. You're here now, a young man. Well, you're a middle-aged man almost now.
Yeah,
almost.
I just turned 49 Saturday, so yeah, I'm here.
Not 49.
49.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right. I thought you were a little closer to 42. Okay. But
No.
Okay.
No.
Well, let's talk about your background. How did you get here? What now?
So, we're originally from Camden. My father had a very interesting relationship with street life in reference to a very aggressive. And so, when he went on the FBI's most wanted list, and we saw some other things, my mom saw some other things in Camden going left. She had a friend down here. She had an opportunity to get a job here, working with mental health in Fort Bragg. And in '91, we moved here.
Wow. Okay. I like the way you said interesting lifestyle. Okay.
Right.
But in the process of all that brought you to what made you the kind of guy that says, okay, I got to make life better, even though it's gotten tough for me here now.
I didn't know it was tough.
Oh, okay.
You know, poor kids don't know you're poor. You know, just like, you know, rich kids don't. And I have friends in the suburbs, and I'm looking at their lives. They had no clue that they were more privileged. You know, you're a kid, and so when I saw some of the struggles that my mom went through, it was more of a common sense. Like, we didn't have food in the house, so at 12, I went to work at a grocery store called Fairs on Haddon Avenue in Camden, and I would bag groceries for change.
Okay.
And then I would take the change, buy some groceries, bring it back to the house, and it just seemed like normal. You know, it's common sense. We don't have food in the house. Find some way to get food in the house.
So looking back at that time, was that something that helped build you into becoming an entrepreneur?
So my grandmother was an entrepreneur. She was in the mental health field. My paternal grandmother. Then my uncle, he owned an apartment complex, a beauty salon, a barbershop, and he would cut wood and make clocks. And so then in the basement, he had a hobby for trains. And I spent a lot of summers with him. And then my maternal grandfather, he ran a transportation company. So working a job was abnormal.
Okay.
And then being a business owner was normal.
Okay. Okay. So you put all this together in your how old were you?
I think I probably put it together in my 40s, understanding what it was. But when you're living it in real time, you don't. You can't see it.
It's just a move. Do you call yourself a survivor or a thriver? What do you say?
No, conquer. Conquer. Yeah.
Conqueror.
Yeah, I didn't survive anything. I didn't. Surviving, like, is a guy getting beat by the police. He survived it.
Okay.
There's no way he could fight back.
Okay.
I was blessed to be in positions to where I could always fight back or counterpunch, and by the grace of God, obviously. But yeah.
So how do you identify the market? You came up with 8 T's.
Yes, sir.
How did you identify the market to say this is a place where I can add something to the society and also be successful as well?
The industry picked me. I didn't pick it.
Okay.
I was at Fayetteville State. Met a guy named Stephon Carter. He was drawing, and we were kids dreaming. It's 2021, and we was talking about having jeans made, clothes made, because that's in the era of, the hip hop world was going into fashion, and so we were just following along. And so I did one shirt, and I was selling, and I had some crazy ideas, and we sold them at Bike Rally, and everybody kept asking me, where did you get your shirts from? And I would say Brack Specialty. So Tony Braxton's uncle was stationed here.
Okay.
And he opened a printing business on Rayford Road, and this is in the 90s. And right there where Hot Now is.
Okay.
Hot Now on Cumberland Point, he was right in that shopping center, and he printed my first shirts, and people kept asking, where you get the shirts from? And I sent them there. And then he was printing for me. Then I found a place to get my shirts from and take them to him to get printed. And I understood the price difference. So when I would order shirts from him, I would pay like $10 a piece. But when I went and got my shirts and he printed them, I was paying like $3 a piece. I was like, oh, okay. And then I was able to say, okay, if I buy my own shirts, let him print them, I can be cut in the middle. And once I found that profit margin, 27 years later, I never looked back.
Wow. So you're a guy that when we start talking about failure, you don't see failure in the sense of failing. You see it as a sense of overcoming or being better. Share with our audience what that means to you when you talk about it.
You're either winning or learning.
Okay.
And so as long as you take it like that, and you're winning or learning. So they're outside of you putting yourself in a situation, well, even in that, you're still learning. You're like, okay, that I won't do that no more. Let me modify and let me grow.
Okay. It's kind of like with Joseph, when we're talking here, his situation being put in Egypt, he never saw himself losing. He always made the best of each situation and got better. Okay. So balance this thing with you. You're a conqueror, but now somehow or another, risk-taking and being cautious, there's got to be a point where, do you know the balance, or have you ever thought about there being a balance between risk-taking and also knowing where to be cautious or choose your battles?
Age.
Okay.
I am not the risk-taker that I used to be.
Okay.
So I still dream, and I still have the ability to be a visionary, but I have 10 steps. And that's the same way with my salvation. So it's not that, when April 5th, I had the pleasure of being baptized by you, 2025.
Yes.
Women on I was baptized on April 5th. April 6th, women didn't become unattractive. Liquor didn't become like, oh yeah, it wasn't like, it wasn't, all of those things were still there, but Christ gave me more steps. Like, okay, let me give you this word, let me give you this thing, the teachings that you taught under there. So I had more barriers I had to go through to get off track. No different. So I always tell people, for me being a Christian and living Christ-like, it's like the barriers on the road. If you're driving, say you're tired and you go off the road, is the rattles the whole car.
Yeah, yeah.
But that is the safe space between you and that metal barrier or going over the side of the road. And so that's how I stay there with Christ. Christ is that's right there. This is the road he's giving me.
Yeah.
And if I get sidetracked, so to go off course, I have to go over that barrier, and then I know I'm in a dangerous place.
So let's take a beautiful woman. You see one. How many doors do you put locks in there? Do you have to put between you and her, or that particular drink to say, okay, I put 10 doors here, those 10 steps. By the time I get through step 10, I don't even want that.
So I give this example.
Okay.
With my walk with Christ. And people say, well, what do you got to give up something to give you Christ? That's true, but it's not. Because you got to tell the rest of the story. So I had McDonald's. And, Christ said, I understand you're hungry. I have chicken and rice. And I said, okay, I'll try the chicken and rice.
Okay.
And I was full. Now I have a Pepsi. Christ said, I have mineral water. And so you can keep the mineral water. I won't make you it, but you can keep the Pepsi or the Coke or the soda, but I want to give you this mineral. And then I had chips. And Christ said, well, I have blueberries and bananas. And so what happens is that I can't hold both.
Yeah.
And so I put the chips down, and when the blueberries and the banana enabled me to get more done during the day. The chicken and rice gave me, it pushed me further. And even when I went back to the McDonald's, it didn't feel good.
Okay.
So the trade-off was that spaces in salvation were just more beneficial to my life. To stop cussing made it easier for me to have general conversations in spaces without having to be conscious of who I offended.
That's good. So I'm looking and listening to what you're saying here, the eye gate or temptations to touch, feel, see, and taste. If you get past that, the strength that you receive from what God gives, Christ gives, is more long-lasting. It has more spiritual nutrients, if you will, too.
Right. And I'm not saying that I don't drink anymore. My birthday was this weekend. I had some drinks with friends. I don't drink in this space of drunkenness. Like I would come home, get a drink to relax. I would come home and I get a drink to settle my mind now, and I'm not governing anyone's salvation in that. I am saying that where there were boundaries on where I pulled back from.
Okay. That speaks a lot to growth and, like you said, age. I like that point. When you say age is a determining for anybody who starts taking risks.
This is the like at my age, I'm 49. Even when I go to the gym, my workout is for maintaining. I don't have a game on Friday.
Yeah.
So I don't need to put a bunch of weight on there. I don't need to push my body to the limit. If it hurts, I'm stopping.
Yeah.
If there's an exercise that's uncomfortable, I don't do it.
So you're not in the gym looking at these young 20-year-olds working out, trying to run with them in the gym.
No. I admire them. I'm glad I'm still strong, but yeah, I have no desire to be young again.
Yeah. So let's take for somebody right now who want to get into the industry. You've been there, and they want to be successful. What would you say to them about this market or this time about going into business? If you were the guy now with the understanding you have with it, but you are 22, 24 years old, what would you tell someone?
You need your three things in place: spiritual, mental, and physical.
Okay.
Before you go over here, you need your life right with Christ, foundation, because now you're tapped into the source. So once you tap into the source, there are things that are going to happen. Now you got And I say this all the time, like for 20 some odd years, I lived off of mercy. And mercy is the absence of deserved punishment. You know, when you go to court, you ask for the mercy of the court. Nobody, you know, but grace is the presence of undeserved favor. And so at the spiritual side, you want to tap into that undeserved favor. And so that's where you lock in first. And then mentally, you got to guard your gates. You got to have some things coming in. My algorithm on my phone brings me spiritual stuff, financial stuff, business stuff. And you still have, you know, it's social media, so I still have some trash and stuff coming in there. But I scroll past it or I'm uninterested. I want the things that enlighten my mind. Physically, your endorphins are important and they help you with your thinking process. So you need to do some level of workout. Push-ups, sit-ups, walking, whatever. Even if you had a daily routine of walking for 30 minutes, that alone, and not just so much that you'll be physically in shape, that's important, but the endorphins open your mind. And there are things that that are gonna happen. So once you have that spiritual, mental, and physical foundation, then you can think straight and more ideas come to you, and then you go from there. But I would tell anybody how your foundation straight.
Yeah. Back up to each of those. Let's take a song. We should be taking a break. We'll do that momentarily. But back up to those again. Look, let's break it down a little bit. The spiritual thing. Sometimes people assume that because they may read a scripture or something that they've done the spiritual and they check the box. What would you say about that? How much more being spiritual? What does that sound like? Should be to a 23, 24-year-old.
Can you hear his voice?
Yeah. Okay.
Is it relational?
Yeah. Good.
If you were in a crowd and you called my name, as my spiritual father, I would know your name. I would know your voice. And so if you don't know the voice of Christ, then that's where you would start at. And so a lot of times, 5-10 minutes quiet. Sometimes I pray and I'm on the side of my bed, and then even if I stop praying, I just lay there. And I found myself falling asleep there. And my children come, Daddy, you okay? I'm fine. So you got to find that rest, that space where when you pray, you just wait to hear from him. And so once I learned that, and I learned so much, like a lot of things that you taught or Pastor Brinkley taught, Bishop Brinkley or Pastor Jones taught or Bishop Thompson taught, you hear all these things 10 years later, and then you're experiencing them, and you're like, oh, that's what he was talking about. When you said, and I never forget this message, you said, we say a lot of times God knows our heart, and that's cool and all. And he said, but sometimes we're a lying Christian, or we're stealing Christian, or we're a fornicating Christian. And you said, when are you just going to be Christian? And I was like, whoa. And it was a checkpoint for me. It was like, and I remember that. And so when I'm thinking about some of my faults, my mind says, when are we just going to be Christian? And so that is what my mark is. And I fail at it every day. I fail at it every day. I have, I'm not, I wouldn't dare come on air and be like estrogen is unattractive, or, I've never walked past, like I don't have no bottles of liquor in the house. I don't cuss. I don't do that. I have a bunch of mess with me. I am just armed with a broom to clean it up now.
Good. I like it. I love it. Hey, we got to take a break. Corinne Keys is our guest today as we are talking about entrepreneur, and we're going to get into the author on the other half of this show. Don't you dare go anywhere. This is still B&B Wow on B&B. Take it away, Bishop.
The U.S. military said Tuesday that Iranian missiles fired at Kuwait and Bahrain failed or were shot down, and that the U.S. launched strikes on an Iran facility in response. As budget talks continue at the General Assembly, Democratic leaders are calling for more funding for the criminal justice system. Democratic House leader Robert Reeves said he and other Democrats are offering a plan. Hundreds of veterans and elected officials are demanding Congress pass the Ensuring Justice for Camp Lejeune Victims Act. It's been 4 years since PACT Act gave veterans and families exposed to toxic water on Camp Lejeune the right to compensation. Yet hundreds of thousands of claims haven't been heard. State Auditor Dave Bollig has launched an audit of the Opportunity Scholarship Program, which uses taxpayer dollars to help families pay for private school tuition. Mike Rayleigh, NCN News.
I'm Jamie Monticelli, WIDU Radio News. Join the Cumberland County Firearms Safety Team for the June Wear Orange event focused on safety, connection, and prevention in connection of Gun Violence Awareness Month. On Friday, June 5th, we're gathering at the Cumberland County Department of Public Health to honor Gun Violence Awareness Month, share resources, and stand united for a safer future. The Cumberland County Sheriff Jonathan Morgan says with school out for the summer, a lot of kids will have more free time on their hands. That often means spending more time online and on social media. Parents and guardians, now is a great time to be proactive. Take an interest in the apps your children are using, who they are communicating with, and what they are sharing online. A few simple tips: know what apps and platforms your child uses, review privacy settings together, encourage them to never share personal information online, remind them that what is posted online can last forever. From WIDU Radio, I'm Jamie Monticelli.
A little bit of a chill in the air to get our Wednesday morning started out. Not something that we often say this time of year, but we'll take it. You know the heat and humidity is coming back eventually. It won't today. We'll see high temperatures in the low to mid 80s this afternoon. Mostly sunny, but the humidity stays nice and low. Overnight lows in the mid to upper 50s. Then Thursday, about 5 degrees warmer. Still low humidity under a mostly sunny sky. I'm meteorologist Chris Michaels in the NCN Weather Center.
You have always put others before yourself. Put your country above all else. Given everything you can, every time. Now it's time to forge a new path. At Fayetteville State University, we believe your service is our debt. So we're offering free military family tuition. Yes, absolutely free. And with new programs like cybersecurity, anything really can happen. Fayetteville State University. Are you in?
And when you thought it could not get any better, it does. Welcome back to B&B on Wednesday, Word on Wednesday with Bishop Carly Brinkley Jr. and John GODBOLT. And we have in the studios with us today Corinne Keys, who's been sharing with us entrepreneurship, his life, expectancies, growth. And we're going to take this half and talk about the author and what inspired him and all those kinds of things. Love to hear from you. Of course, stay with us, as one of my friends says, stick and stay with WIDU. We got some great entertainment as well as opportunities to inspire you throughout the day. That's what's important. You need information, but you also need to be inspired. So that's what we do here at the We Do Network. Okay, Corinne, and let's just talk about the author thing. How in the world did you get into writing? What brought that on?
My mom.
Okay.
So my mom, Dr. Karen Keys, phenomenal writer. That is her thing. And so I would see her write. Like, that was one of the gifts that I got from her. And my family setting was storytellers, with my grandfather being a pastor. He had a smaller church and then joined a larger church with Church of God in Christ. He was assistant pastor there. So the storytelling.
Okay.
So being able to narrate the story was normal. And then when, the writing became, if I wanted to share it with others. And so in my earlier years, I wrote a nonfiction book. It was controversial, put a crazy title on it. But that was more of a money grab, because when I found out the books cost 95 cents a piece and I could sell it on the street for 10, and hired a publicist. I had done some work with the radio station, so we dropped some T-shirts off with Radio 1, and we traded it out. And so that evolved into something, but it was more financially lucrative than I was some controversial author. And they said it, and I went with it because it was financially beneficial. But then as I got older, I didn't want to talk about the controversial things. It was like, it's pretty much saturated. And then I started to make different kinds of content. So I would say my earlier spaces in writing were more Ice Cube, where he had some aggressive language and things of that nature. Ice Cube makes family movies now. So he didn't stop writing.
Right.
He just, you just write to what's, my children grew up. I wasn't as, it's easy to be tongue-in-cheek and aggressive when your babies are little. But then when they get older and start understanding the social stuff, you have to be a little bit more responsible to what you put out. And it's like, I don't really want to be affiliated with that. You outgrow it.
Yeah.
You outgrow it.
So most people should grasp that to outgrow it, but we still have some who don't quite understand the importance of, like you're saying, children, the generation coming behind you. But how did you know you had content that would affect people like this particular book?
I've been on stage a long time.
Okay.
So by the second grade, I could play the drums. But probably kindergarten, I was playing. Second grade, I could play in service. Then I picked up the keys, then I picked up the saxophone, then I picked up the flute, and so church is a stage, regardless. So then you're watching things happen in real time and people react, and so you take in your environment. And so then when I got to the second writing and I pulled away and I found out with the logistics of a book that people can't ride they can't drive and read, they can't walk and you can't run and read. Then I started making films.
Okay.
So I was able to tell my story in real time, and then I started speaking about things in film, about life and family and things of that nature. And then Amazon, and any filmmaker watching this, Amazon has this great situation. It's called Prime Video Direct, where it's a 50-50 deal. It costs you nothing. Go to Amazon Prime Video Direct, put your email in. If you produce the film, you need your you produce the film, you need a file for closed caption, and you need your definitely your pictures for like your movie posters in there for the phone, tablet, and the screen. They'll split the deal with you 50-50. They'll host your project, and it costs nothing. So if you have a project, if you're selling it for $10, you get $5 off of it, and all you got to do is promote it. And so that was one of the ways I was able to tell more stories.
Okay, so your life experiences, how much would you say that influenced writing for you? Now, you said earlier about the Ice Cube mentality, tongue-in-cheek situation, but now you are doing something, when I heard you speak, slightly different. No, that's not slightly, a whole lot different. What brought that on?
I'm almost 50. My content should change.
Okay.
Like 20, I wrote the book at 26.
Yeah.
So I was 8 years out of high school. To put things in perspective.
Sure.
8 years out of high school, I hadn't even had my 10-year reunion. At 27 is when the frontal lobe final develops for a man. So, I'm not talking about the same things now. And so now as a seasoned business owner, somebody that retired, left, taught, coming back, working on some things, I had more content for my age group.
Okay.
And I was able to look back at it and be like, okay, this is what I want to, and no different than social media. What I talked about, when social media got active in 2008, so in 2008 I was 31. That's 18 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah. So it evolves. Even for worldly men, there's a beer that you drank as a kid that you wouldn't touch now. Versus you may get a glass of wine. So you just understand those things better. So I grew.
If you could help many of our young folk right now who are in your age group who are still struggling with that. I've seen lots of young men, I call them young because This year I'll be 75, so it's a different era for me looking at someone who's 49. That's great. However, there's some men that we're seeing struggling with wanting to remain effective with the younger generation, but they realizing or hadn't realized you're 40, you're 50, you're 55. You can't be 22. How would you help that person grasp that concept?
They have to look in the mirror and say, I'm afraid.
Okay.
Everybody wants to progress. They're just afraid of the next step. Everybody wants to grow. They're afraid of the next steps. And so once you get past the fear, and like I said, I go to my 3 foundations: the spiritual, mental, and physical. Talk to God, control what's coming in, go to the gym. And I talked about that in my special, How's Your Little Business Doing? And that's coming out in October, where I break down the things about being a business owner. And I told them, like, in the morning, go to bed at 9:30. You'll be up at 4:30. There's nothing interesting on social media at 4:30. You can talk to God, make your coffee, go work out, and things of that nature. And so I would tell anybody, the men that are stuck, just it's a lot like the elephant when they tied the rope to the leg when they were a baby. They tied the chain to the leg when they're a baby, and then when they're big, they tie the rope to the leg. Keep moving.
Since you're on so how's your little business doing? Let's talk about that. Let's spend the time we have here. That title, what made you use that as a title? Is it a book, a combination of books and movies?
No, so it's a documentary.
Okay.
I don't write books anymore because reading is just transportation of information. Transportation got faster.
Okay.
So to disseminate and distribute the information faster, documentary is faster.
Okay.
I've never read one T.D. Jakes book, ever.
Okay.
I've heard him speak thousands of times on social media, but I will put an audiobook of his on. If he has an 8-hour audiobook, I started at 6. I got it in 1 year. I got myself situated, got the kids out the house, on my way to work, at work. But so I may not finish it today, but I may finish it tomorrow.
Okay.
It is very difficult to finish a 500-page book in 2 days. And so when I put information out there now, if I want it to be out quickly, it's done, and reading is fundamental. I would never say anything, but it's faster to put it in documentary form.
People tend to look at it, or the kind of mind we have now, or the attention span is shorter. Are you trying to help reach that group as well with this?
I think as a businessman, you just want to execute at the highest level. What is the highest level where you can execute? How do you get it to them the fastest?
Okay.
And that's it.
So share with us some of those things that you did. I like I said, I got a copy of it and saw you present in public, and it was very impressive. That's why you're here, because I've known you, but I didn't know that side of you in public speaking with controlling an audience. You own that place, that space. It was great. But share with us those steps.
First off, I've had phenomenal examples. Nobody is better at the crowd and examples than you. Like I've had to, you got to think, how many examples, how many times somebody had a beard on, or you're doing the shepherd speeches and you're moving this place and talking about, okay, when you surround yourself with this. And so I saw you, I saw Pastor Jones, I saw Bishop Thompson, who is in the list of speakers. I don't know, like him, his memory, how he knows people, controlling the crowd. You talk about thousands of people and he'll remember folks by name, go back to where he immediately started from, have the lesson, joke with you, point out something political, address it and be real serious, love on you, and then correct you all in one time in 47 minutes. I said this, so between you breaking down information from, I know more, I laugh, my friends laugh when we talk about it. You be like, Claire, you go to GODBOLT Church, you'll find out the Greek and Hebrew word for cereal. So Pastor Jones being methodical in his lessons and how he's teaching them, Bishop Thompson being the phenomenal orator in those spaces. So I pulled from that, and it was an easy win. Yeah, it just, you know.
Well, you're so kind. When you said that, I feel like the mule in the horse race. I know I can't win, but I'm in good company. I appreciate that. So being inspired to write with people and your skills, on that particular, in that particular video, I watched you share, like you said, the tip about why you need to just go to bed at 9:30, get up at 4, and those pieces. In your mind, it seems to be, hey, that's a winning formula. But when you're talking to an audience, they are trying to figure out, oh, I never thought about that.
Right.
So are you using shock value or just things that you're saying, this is experience talking to you?
Good food tastes good. and so if it's good, you'll get that. You know, when it's good information, you'll get that. Because I remember when I got it, you know, understanding that sleep is a financial strategy. Because if it wasn't, they wouldn't have a button at the bottom of it on the streaming channels that says loading next movie. Mm-hmm. You don't get to choose whether you stop it until like 5 or 6 hours later. It asks you, are you still watching?
Yeah.
But sleep is a financial strategy. It is the space where they can get your eyes and things of that nature. There are companies that say, we want to pull 3 to 4 hours of sleep time away from this person. Mm-hmm. The time that we did not get during the day because they were at work, we want to get that at night. And so once I understood that, I was like, oh, okay, cool. Mm-hmm. So now when we pull that back, you know, just for a number's sake, if you go to bed at 9:30 and you're up at 4:30, you get, let's say 2 hours a day back of whatever you're going to pull from work and things of that nature. That's 10 hours a week. It's 40 hours a month. Mm-hmm. That's 1 work week a month times 12. That's 12 work weeks. 12 work weeks is 3 months. To go to bed at 9:30 just gave you got 15 months of work done in 12-month period. Mm-hmm. Didn't cost you a dime. Right. You didn't. You know, we're not talking about if you have a 600 credit score, you can get more money, or if you do the credit card, none of that. This cost you nothing but effort. Go to bed. Mm-hmm. So now you woke up at 4:30. You went to the gym. You talked to God. You went to the gym. You made your cup of coffee, you made your breakfast, you got last night's leftovers as lunch. Now you're not spending the $25 a day, you know, that you would on food. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So you got 25 a day times 5 is 125, times 4 is 500, times 12 is $6,000. So you got 15. You got 3 months of work done extra in a year and saved yourself $6,000, and you did nothing but go to bed.
Go to bed.
So when I'm teaching these strategies and everything, I am saying that I've been up at 1 in the morning and had to get up off, you're groggy. A lot of people don't understand the true value of sleep and water. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Like you can go to the gym all you want, you can eat the best food. The primary thing that they tell you got to rest.
Yeah, yeah.
You will not lose weight if you don't rest.
Yeah.
You'll be stronger. But you like rest is that, and so we forget how important the seventh day was.
Yeah, I was going to bring that point up. But God knew this. He created water. He gave us a place to rest. But we decide that we can do more if we work instead of rest. Okay.
Yeah, so and when I give those strategies, when I was telling them, I said, this is stuff that you can use today.
Right.
You know, I don't have that one glad morning when this life is over. I don't have any of those strategies. I have now strategies because business owners have now problems. And so I wanted to be able to give them, this is what you can do today. No different than what you gave in the pulpit. You gave practical salvation strategies that we could use today. We had to wait long. So you can go home and pray. You can go home and clean your house. You can go home and put some things together. I remember you speaking on implementation and being responsible. And you weren't against Affirmation Church, but you were definitely into work church. And I told somebody that, like, it's nothing wrong with going to the car lot and walk around the car 3 times, but go home and pull them 3 credit scores.
Yeah.
Right. It's okay. Like, we speak those things as if they were. That is faith. There's nothing wrong with that. We want you to have prosperity and move forward and be dominant. But there's another part of that script, faith, and then it says without works.
Yeah.
So when I have a 700 plus credit score, I'm looking at the work that I put in. I'm looking at, okay, and then when I and so now, because in this is going to be good when I give it to you. When you put the work in, you are not cavalier with the gifts of the results.
Okay. Say that again.
When you put the work in, you're not cavalier with the gifts of the results. Go to a farmer that worked his field.
Yeah.
There's a careful way on how he harvests that food. You don't just throw it on there. Nah, let's be careful with that. And so in those things, when I built my credit up, I heard the scripture, be faithful over a few things. And so, all right, what do I need to do first? A car will be nice. I need more real estate. Because if I'm faithful over a few things, he'll make me rule over many. And I have the assets and so forth and so on. So just in that space of having applicable practices, that's where the faith becomes the work, and then the work becomes the faith, and now people say manifesting, but the Bible speaks about manifesting. You speak those things as if they were. That is a manifestation. So all of these practices line up, and so that's why I tell business owners, you do that today.
You said something here about I could get a car or the real estate. When did you realize that getting past I would call it the taste and eye situation, and realizing that what's better in the long term for you? When did that happen, or what made it happen for you?
I saw people that weren't smarter than me that were richer than me. And then so I went to them and I asked them, "What'd you do?" And they said, "Kareem, you got bad habits. You're not executing. What you own?" Their first question they asked, "Well, how much was your property tax?" I was like, "Oh, no, what's property tax?" And they said, "When you find out what property taxes are, then talk to me." And so then it was like, oh. And then I started building towards, all right, I need a piece of property. I need it. And then when I got my piece of property, I went back to them like, "What's this?" Learn. And so I wanted to have real wealth. And I wanted to be powerful. I wanted to be able to. There's always food in my house because I grew up without food. And so I wanted to always have food in my house.
Okay.
But if I'm renting, it's not my house. And so, and if it's not my house, then what am I building? So the layers just kept going back.
Yeah.
To just like salvation. We could start out with shouting and we're moving, and that feels good. Did I read my Bible? Did I pray? Am I lining up with it? Just are we doing the topical things? In church, first thing people say is that, when I'm rededicating my life to Christ, I'm celibate now. That's cool. Where's your Bible? Where's your tithe like? What are you tithing like? What is your habits like? Are you? So we will get the topical things, and so when you get good credit and you buy a car, that is like saying I'm saved and I'm celibate. It's nice and everybody acknowledges it. But what's your prayer life like?
Yeah. Okay.
And so I've seen church where we had topical things, but I lack substance. So I had a shop, but I ain't own it. So that's topical. I had a house, but I didn't own it. So that's where I wanted to go. Let me dig deeper, and I think that was a personal mission of mine, to go deeper and be, conscious about those things and be accountable.
Well, I appreciate you being with us today. It's been great having you. And I want to give you the closing thought that you would like to share with our audience, something that you would encourage them with, or whatever's on your mind, because we got to get out of here shortly. So what would you like to share with us?
I've made more money with less since I gave my life to Christ.
Okay. Okay.
If I had 100 acres before, I may have had 60 or 70 producing. So God took me down to 20 acres, and my 20 acres produced 50 acres. And so I can't stress it enough how important that the decision to choose Christ is. You can have a business plan, you can have all the money, you can have all that, but I am telling you, like, in that space where I chose to rededicate my life to Christ, everything got different. Oh, doors open. There was spaces where I didn't have money, but I had things opened up. So let's say if I had a couple grand, but this $100,000 machine that we needed may have dropped in my lap. The guy said, "Corinne, I seen you working, but here, you can just take the machine."
Wow.
So I would just say to anybody, like, I'm not perfect. I'm still flawed. I still have a lot of things that I'm working on. But, once I put Christ first, and I'm not just saying this, I'm living this. And if you know me, you see my social media, you see me out, I am not the same person. And so I can't say it enough. Like, make if it worked for me. All I'm saying, if it worked for me, and I'm raggedy on different levels, then I would just say that. That's the only thing I can tell somebody. Let's put Christ first. Just try it.
Yeah.
Just try it. You've never had anybody to try it and didn't work.
It works.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Corinne. It's been great having you with us. I guess Corinne Keys, we call him Corinne Keys. Appreciate you so much for being the gift
sir.
you are to us, and keep up the great work, okay?
Thank you, sir.
Guys, we got to get out of here. Thank you so much. It's after 9. We got some great help coming your way, prayer, and a lot of great inspiration. This has been B&B, and remember, we tell you the only thing that evil needs to triumph is for good men and women like you to do nothing. Bye-bye.